need all of Jesus. I need that power. I need to emulate Him everywhere I go all the time so that I don't have to explain to somebody I'm a minister. I don't have to explain to them I go to church. They just know it, amen? That's giving God your all.
Yeah.
That's giving God your all. Yeah. He came to give you a sound mind, your whole mind, all of it. It says, laying aside all. So we clear on what all means. We can move on. Anybody else? Anybody got any indecision? All right. Malice. You know, sometimes you can see a word and you think you know what it means until you look it up. You think it because you just see it becomes split like all. We say all the time, you know. Malice comes from the Greek word kokia, which means trouble, evil, naughtiness, wickedness. Why is Peter having to tell the church to quit this stuff? I thought that was apparent. I thought that was common knowledge. I thought that was BBS kindergarten lesson, that we shouldn't practice wickedness and evil. But Peter's saying, you've got to lay aside all of it. What's he saying? It's the same way as it is today, is that there's still some left in you and it's still working. And here's what it is. It is poisoning the rest of it. You know what strong as concrete is? All it takes is for moisture to get in it and freeze one time and it'll bust. Yeah. Did you know that? All it takes is for the enemy to find a crack in your wall where you are. Mr. and Mrs. Petra, all he's going to do is find a crack, and he will influence that crack. That little bit of algae that grows on stuff, grows on concrete, grows on block walls. Do you know it's a nuisance, right? It looks bad. Do you know what's destroying that wall? It doesn't do it overnight. It doesn't just get on there and then one day it's gone. It's when it's left untreated, when it's left to lay there. Because you see, the longer it goes, if you ever try to scrub some mold off of paint, if you catch it early, it comes clean, right? Let it sit there, and you'll have to take the paint off to get rid of it because it just keeps driving its roots deeper and deeper and deeper. And as strong as a wall can be, when that pollution is allowed to lay on it, it'll start breaking the brick. It'll start making it brittle. And then when the rain hits, it gets what? The brick washes away. Amen? It's that little bit of pollution. All that naughtiness and wickedness. God, that's the Greek word L.W.C, which means trickery or craft, deceit, subtlety. The Bible says that the serpent was more subtle than any creature. God means that you're acting like the serpent. Practicing trickery and craft. You mean to tell me that Peter's having to tell God's people that he's writing this to stop practicing witchcraft? God forbid. Does that know what witchcraft is? It's trickery. It's craft. It's manipulation. It's when you try to change circumstances from behind the scenes. Business. You've been in business. You've known people. You can't be in business and not meet people who try to manipulate things by keeping their hands off. The Bible calls that witchcraft. Church is the worst place. Little pockets of people start gathering up and they're trying to manipulate. Well, let's get rid of that pastor. We don't like it. Give you this reason and that reason. Next thing you know, he's done being accused of 15 things he didn't do. And before long, once that gets into the mindset of the people against anyone, then nothing he can do is right. He didn't wear the right suit this Sunday. He didn't stand behind the pulpit the same as he usually does. I wonder what's going on. She sounded a little pitchy today. Something must be wrong with her spiritual walk with Jesus. No, her throat was so. see? We all know that. We should know that from school. Anybody here was ever bullied in school or saw someone bullied?
Yeah.
It finally gets where they can't do anything right. It's they're trying to make fun of it, right? Before long, it gets to the point that no matter what they do, they're made fun of. That's where it is. That's manipulation. People's minds have been manipulated against something for no reason. It says, lay aside all guile and all hypocrisies. Hypocrisies comes from a Greek word that I cannot pronounce. But the definition of it blew me away. It means to act under condemnation. And I chewed on that for a while, thinking about it. Does that mean that a hypocrite is acting under condemnation? Could it be that their very actions are being judged constantly? Because that's what condemnation means. It means if you're under condemnation, it means what you're doing, your actions, your motives, everything is being judged continually. People all the time say, oh, I don't go to church because of hypocrites. Let me tell you something, hypocrites ain't happy. They're some of the most miserable people in the world because they sit there week in and week out hearing about the joy and the love of Jesus, but for some reason, something inside of them has short-circuited and they can't receive it, and that's why they're so miserable, and that's why they're so bent on making everyone else miserable through their actions. If nothing else, hypocrites deserve your prayer and sympathy. More than they do your criticism, trying to figure out how to get even with you. And I understand it because hypocrites make me angry. Stand hypocrites. That's what they do everywhere. But that right there is a hypocritical statement in itself. If they make me angry, then I'm being the hypocrite. Yeah. Because I should be running for compassion, realizing that there's something they're not getting. It would be like going to a buffet and having your favorite meal spread in front of you, and you're not able to get a plate and eat any of it, but you have to sit and watch everyone eat. Could you imagine what life is like truly for a hypocrite who comes to church week in and week out, and they got to judge everything that's going on, and they constantly look at the buffet the Lord's poured out, but there's something that has malfunctioned, and they can't get in that line. So they react the only way they know, and that is to try to keep everyone else out of the line. Everyone else. There's some spirits they're not grown up into. And that's why they react the way they do. The Bible, Peter said, even in small portions, stay away. Then he says this, an evil speaking. An evil speaking brings back two words, form the ideal. The ideal is to defame, backbite, or gossip. Evil speaking. It's a rough, they had a hard time translating it because of the Greek words that it's used. But that's the thought. To defame, backbite, gossip. And envy is, of course, jealousy or spite. That's easy. But then here's what Peter says. See, I don't like problems without a solution. Amen? Yeah. See, one of the fruits of what I'm talking about is problems, but you have no solution. I like it when someone, how the apostles did it, they would address a problem, but then they give you the solution. How many knows that's how God works?
Yeah.
Christ, when he witnessed, he would address the problem. Here's the problem. The problem is you've been married 5 times, and the man you're with now is not your husband. Here's the solution. It's me. I'm the solution. Talk about Jesus. The problem is you've got a lying tongue and you can't tell the truth. But here's the solution. It's me. You're not going to be able to get over it. I can fix this for you. The problem is you're full of jealousy. The young man comes and says, I want to be a disciple. He said, good. Go sell everything you got, give it to the poor, and follow me. And the man wondered what he said. The problem was pride and lust of money, the love of money. The solution was Jesus. Give this, pass this up, and follow me.
Amen.
The reason why the couple died in the book of Acts is because they would not absorb or observe the power that they were standing amidst. I got over this last Wednesday or Sunday, that we keep asking for the power of God, but we've got to get prepared for it.
Yeah.
Because some of you would die if we had that kind of power in the house today. But some of you still aren't being real with the Lord. I feel that. And maybe that doesn't include anyone here, but the church in general, there'd be people falling over. Amen. Could you imagine if the Holy Spirit dwelt here the way it did with the apostles, to where a small light and suddenly you just fell over dead? Now you would have revival, you'd have confession, you'd have apologies. But we've got to make sure we're asking for that kind of power to set into this house. We need to make sure that we're preparing ourselves to receive it. Peter gives a solution. He says, as newborn babies. Why makes you mad? Makes some people mad. I've been walking with God for 80 years. What do you mean? I don't know what you're going to say. God sees. Peter, through Peter, he says, as newborn babies. Amen. Desire the sincere milk of the word. Amen. See, the devil's polluted that thought too. Because we've become so inundated with the hierarchy of the church and church world leadership that we think that if someone says we're on the milk of the word, that's an insult. And the Bible does say that there's a time to pass from the milk to the meat. Amen. Paul, as a matter of fact, said, I desire to give you meat, but you're still on the milk. When are you going to get off the milk? But there's also times it's time to go back to the milk. Yeah. Especially if you're trying to absorb the meat on something you haven't gotten yet. Yeah. You may be sitting here now saying, but you know, I've been battling. You may be in your mind right now thinking, you know, he's talking about me. He's nailing me on something I know is in my heart, and I can't figure out how to get over it. We'll put the meat down and go back to the milk. Right. Start over again with it. Because here's what Peter says, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word. And in other words, the simplicity of it. Sometimes you make it too hard. Yeah. Women are the worst. Give them a set of directions. Next thing you know, they're driving in circles around town. I love you, but you'll overthink it every time. Yeah. Every time. Of course, maybe we just don't give enough information. I don't know. You should be able to read my mind if I'm telling you where to tell you. Simplicity, the milk of the word. That's formed by two words in the Greek gala logitos, which means it forms the ideal once again of the logical or reasonable part of the word. Man. In other words, everything that you read in the Word does not have some deep mystery that can't be understood without years of Bible college and years of a seminary degree and everything. In other words, when God said love your neighbor, that's all it meant. Amen. It's all it meant, love thy neighbor. Yeah, amen. When he gave the golden rule, love thy neighbor as yourself, that's all it meant. There was no deeper mystery. I had someone one time contend with me, trying to tell me that the creation story in Genesis was a parable. That's overthinking it. Amen. When God said, let there be light, there was light. There's no other meaning behind it. There was just there. What leads you down those rabbit trails of bypassing or getting off the milk too soon is when you overthink it or you're trying to figure it out. You've got to understand right now there's some things about God you will not figure out in this thing. That's why it's not important whether you agree with the Bible completely or if you can figure it all out. What's important is that you accept it as the ultimate truth and do what it says, whether you can understand why or not. Amen? Amen. So as soon as you unfree yourself right there from that, if you're one of those people that has to know the why of everything, just take those chains off and let them fall.
Yeah.
Understand you're not going to know the why of everything. God's going to act. There's things God's asked me to do. He can still to this day has not explained to me why I had to do it. Does it matter? It didn't matter. It shouldn't matter to you. It does. We're humans. We always go curious, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter. We need to push those things aside. You know, the Jewish people, they didn't even care. They didn't even care if they wrote the right name down about stuff as long as they recorded what God did. That's what was important. The only reason they kept such a good genealogy of their own nation from Abraham to Jesus was so that they would know the Messiah lineage.
Yeah.
But everything else, they just kind of, you can find it. Go do some Old Testament studies and you'll find what I'm talking about. There's references made to people at different times. It's not a contradiction. It's just that wasn't important to the people who were recording this information. They were more concerned with what did God want, what was God. So that's how we need to be. You want to stop being a busybody in the church? Start being concerned with what God wants. That's not what you're Start being concerned with what God wants to take you to instead of worrying about where you're going to be elevated to.
Amen. That's the Lord.
He said, desire. Go back to, as newborn babies, desire the milk of the word that you may grow thereby. In other words, Peter's saying, okay, you're not growing in that area, you got a problem with envy. Go back to the milk. And then once you strip this off, get back on the simple. Quit making the word harder than it has to be. In other words, take the logical, reasonable part of the word. That's what that means. Milk of the word, the raw, logical, reasonable part of the word. In other words, go back to that part of the word, and guess what will happen? You'll start growing in that area.
Right.
You'll start seeing things. You'll start being different. There's some of you in here right now. I don't want to embarrass anyone, but there's quite a few of you. I've seen you grow in ways that's unreal. I've heard you say things that a year ago I would have been like, if somebody told me you said it, I'd be like, no, they didn't. They don't say stuff like that. I'm talking about good things. Amen?
Amen.
It's that growth. In other words, give yourself room to grow. Peel off that junk that's hiding the stone. Because you know, when that wall, even though that brick's covered up, it's still beautiful.
Yeah.
Even though you drive by there now, you can't see it, it doesn't hide the fact that it's still beautiful. And one day it'll all be stripped off there, probably been doing it. And you'll see what I'm talking about, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a part of you underneath that God has kept hidden, that he's not ready to reveal. See, are you walking fully in your calling in? Because God's keeping you. He's got that portion of the walk covered because he's not ready to reveal that. See, you got a day coming.
Yeah.
You got a moment coming. As long as you're a part of this walk, you've got a moment coming. It's coming. God will rip the veil off one day that will show it. Cornerstone. Let me read a little further. It said, to whom coming as a living stone. So back it says, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word that you may grow thereby. If so be you have tasted that the Lord is gracious. In other words, are you in God's mercy? Then go. What's that say? If you tasted the Lord's gracious. In other words, do you understand God's mercies and how it works? He said you have an opportunity to go back now. So if these other things he listed, the malice, guile, hypocrisies, envies, and evil speakings, if they still exist in your character, he's saying, do you not understand that the Lord is gracious? You have the opportunity to go back from that. Go back to the milk. Go back to the reasonable part of the word and begin to live the way that you should live. Then you'll grow spiritually. And he's leaving that open for all of you.
Amen. He
says, to whom, now he's talking about Christ, to whom coming as unto a living stone. So it says the Lord's gracious, and that he's coming as a living stone. Watch this. disallowed in need of men. Well, Jesus is rejected in the world of anyone who's not a Christian for sure today. But here's what Peter said. He's saying he's disallowed in need of men, but chosen of God. I don't think some of you got that.
Oh.
Jesus was disallowed of men, but chosen of God.
That's right.
Your ways in following Him, your belief in when you imitate Christ, when you're striving, you will be disallowed of men. Men will not like you. They will despise you. They will hate you. Jesus said, the world hated me, they'll hate you also. If you're a follower of Christ and you don't have some people hating on you, there's something wrong. Because that same Bible also says to be friendship, to have friendship with the world is to what? Make yourself an enemy of God. So if you're not stirring the devil's nest up out there, then you're probably in line with him, whether you realize it or not. If you're not disrupting his plan, disrupting what he's got going on, let me tell you something. It should just be by your presence. Because Peter's shadow could fall on someone and someone would be affected. You don't have to run around the store. You don't have to take a megaphone with you. Your very presence should make the devils upset. When you walk through Walmart, you should see people looking at you that you've never met before trying to get away from you as fast as possible. Because the God in you is farther than the devil that's in them. Amen? Amen. And when you see them running, go after it. Go after it. Holler, Jeep, whatever you want to go over there, set in town, you can find out real quick. All you got to do is listen for somebody yelling, Jay, man, Jesus loves you. I see him chasing people down. Now, don't be like Eric. Yourself, figure out your own thing. There's a way all of us can communicate the love of God because we've all tasted of His mercy.
Yeah.
We've all tasted of His mercy. We should be able to communicate to someone who doesn't know about it what He's done for us at least. If we have no other experience in the world, we know what He did for us. We know how we felt at that moment. We know how we was when He changed us. We know how we was when we became born again. We can at least communicate that part of it.
Amen.
Amen. It says, to whom coming as a living stone disallowed need of me, the chosen of God and precious. How do you know you're chosen of God and precious if you're on this wall? God knows where you are. Now, you may feel like you may not know where on the wall you are. That's all right. You know, we can do a little experiment. We can go out here today. We can ask any brick on this wall. We'll just say, Mr. Brick, do you know where you're at on the wall? He probably won't be able to answer because he don't know.
Amen.
But he's holding the wall. He's holding this wall. You may not know where you're at on the wall. You may never know where you're at on the wall. But you got to hold your wall. You got to hold your wall. When this church, when it was threatened that this building one time was going to be closed down, some stayed and held the wall. Others had to leave, and they didn't know why it come. Look what God did. Some stayed and held it down, and others went and got the ones that God was going to use to.
Amen. Yeah.
See, man might have stood up and said, well, they're closing the building, but God didn't say that was going to happen. Come on. Man might have said a lot of things to you. That doesn't mean God said it. Man might have disallowed it. Man might have put you down. Man might have done all kinds of craziness, but that doesn't mean that God did.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
It's important that you hold your place on the wall. You also, as lively stone, in other words, here we go. He says Jesus is coming as a living stone. Now you be a lively stone, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, and offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. That's you. Let me read it again. It says, you also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house. What's your spiritual house? Right Talking about your body, right? A spiritual house, right? Build up a spiritual house. Let's talk about individuals right here. And then he calls you a holy priesthood. Holy priesthood. In other words, when God looks at his people, his church, his Petra, he sees a holy priesthood. Why can't we ever see ourselves the way God sees us?
Amen.
There'd be so many things we're afraid of that we would not give a second thought if we could see ourselves the way God sees us, because he looks at this wall, he looks at the Petra, and he says, there's a holy priesthood right there that I have built and set up. And let me tell you something, when God builds something, it stands. When he spoke everything into existence, he would create it and he would say it, and it was good. And then when he's building this wall, when he's building this church, every time he puts a stone in place, he looks at it and says, it was good.
Right.
It was good. It was good. Not because of your righteousness, but the righteousness of Christ that's in you. It says, you also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up what? Spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. But you can't open up. You can't offer spiritual sacrifices if they're polluted. Who's doing begging, who's doing altar? Come on. Yes, sir. I just go until the Holy Spirit tells me that's easy. I got where I can go. Offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God. Wherefore also it is contained in the Scripture, behold, I lay aside the chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Those who believe in Christ shall not be confounded. So what he's saying is he's saying that he's made the way for you to offer up spiritual sacrifices. But a sacrifice can't have blemish. It has to be pure. And see, what's hindering you doing your job as this holy priesthood is the fact that when you allow the envy and guile and malice and those things to exist in your spiritual house, then your sacrifice has blemish. So when you allow the blood of Christ to cleanse you, then your sacrifice is pure. Then you can push through what it is that you need to get through. You need a prayer answer, you need God to move on your behalf, He will. But you've got to put yourself in the alignment. If you'd all stand. I'm just going to say this. Is that you? Is there some in here that need to go back to the milk on some things? There's no shame in that. Is there some in here that needs to go back on the milk for a lot of things? There's no shame in that. But if that's you, the shame will be is if you walk out here the same way you came in. Because God didn't set this time up to leave you as you are. He didn't bring this word for you to just hear it and say that's a nice message and go away. He wants to transform you in the days today. So while this plays, be there, keep Christ shines, leave us, that God stands here today to be with God, whatever they need, whatever Jesus' name.
Praise God. 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 Praise God.
There may be some in here today that your journey, you're not really even sure where you're at. That maybe you've gotten yourself to the place, or the devil's gotten yourself to the place that you would like to go back to the book of the Word, but you don't even know how to go back and start. Maybe it's been so long since you felt the presence of God that you don't even know how to the way back in. And I'm telling you today, today's the day to make that decision. You walk into this building, the words welcome home. The Robo Sanctuary doors, but I'll tell you this right now, church. That's nothing going to be like the homecoming in heaven. These little problems that you may have, they may seem like big mountains to you, but they're small problems to God. Don't let something hinder, don't let something be between you and Him. He knows where you're at. He knows where you're walking. He knows what you've been up to. He knows the thoughts in your head. And yet He still extends a hand, His merciful hand to you right now saying, come on, let's finish this trip together. Let me make you a rock. Let me put you on the wall. Let me put you in your place where you need to be. Let me build you and make you a part of the cornerstone. So I'm going to ask you to go through this song one more time. We still got these praise. And if I'm going to ask the church right now, if you're satisfied with where you already walked with God, just raise your hands and just sing this with me. Because there's no reason why we just can't praise God. But if that's not you, if you're not where you should be, today you can be. Today you can be. The altar's open. Praise God. Praise God. Been there to years, I shining as the sun. We know this things to see God's praise. We first begun. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. Oh. Still got some of y'all. tell you, I'm going to play this song, but God's not done it here. I don't have the liberty to shut this down, so He's working on somebody. He's working on me. How about you? Just get it. You're not going to be happy till you do it. God says, let the Lord have His perfect work in you. So while they play this, we're not going to keep this going forever, but if that's you, the altar's still open.
Jesus, 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 like the fragrance after the rain. Jesus, 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 let on you and Savior, Jesus, let on it's just something. No more clouds in the sky, and no more tears to dim the eye. All is peace forevermore on that happy golden shore. What a day, glorious day that will be. What a day that will be. Oh, with my Jesus I shall see. When I look upon His face, the one which saved me by His grace, and when He takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. What a day, glorious day that will be.
I'm going to read in chapter 5 of 1 Peter. I just want to get this out quick. The Lord reminded me of something that's always playing. This is instructions for how the believers should be when they assemble together. And I want you to hear this. You ready? It says, the elders which among you I exhort, who also am an elder, and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Feed the flock of God which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre or money, but of a ready mind. Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Likewise, you younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yes, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. I was talking to someone last night. I said, you know, the first time I read 1st and 2nd Peter, something became apparent to me. It was just obvious. Jumped off the page. Peter's saying this. Number one, remember that your crown is in heaven, and that's the goal. That's who you're seeking to please. Forget about all this earthly stuff. But then the other part that most of us don't like, he says, you know, if you're a follower of Christ, bad things shouldn't happen to you. But they probably will. Or actually they're going to, and when they do, how you handle yourself in those situations shows where you are, your integrity before God. Amen?
Amen.
And your uprightness. Sometimes God sends difficult things we don't understand, but it's just to measure us, just to show us where we are. Amen?
Yes.
Amen. Give the Lord another hand. I had to get that extra in because I ain't going to here tonight. Amen. So, God bless y'all. Hope you have a wonderful service. Brother Billy Taylor's going to bring the message. Back to lunch. I'll be with you through, but I'm going to go sit with Vicki this afternoon. Amen. And you'll keep us in prayer. We'll pray for us. We'll pray for you. All hearts and minds, please. Arlene, dismiss the church, please, in prayer.